Hello, my name is Scott Thompson, and today I'll be making braciole. Braciole is an Italian meal. It's a great substitute for sausage or meatballs, and I'll be making it with spaghetti today. There are a lot of braciole recipes out there. I'm going to show you mine and a few tricks that I have. The one thing that you'll always find in braciole is a lot of garlic, and we start with a whole bowl of garlic. And what you're going to do is you're going to break off and peel the individual cloves. Now, a lot of times you're going to see people smash cloves with a knife. You don't want to do that here, because what I do is I roast my garlic. So I just make a little cut on the top, and then I peel the entire bulb. There is a completely peeled garlic clove. And what you're going to do, you're going to put them into a little bowl, and once you get the whole bulb peeled, put a little olive oil in and toss them so that each one is coated with olive oil. Put them on a baking sheet, bake them for at 300 for about 10 minutes, turn them once, and then another 10 minutes, and they should be done. You'll have nice roasted garlic. And the garlic should look something like this. And you're going to take that garlic and put it in a bowl. And with the back end of a fork, what you want to do is just go ahead and mash the garlic. Mash it up like this. Then you go ahead and you get some Parmesan cheese. And you want to get about an equal amount of Parmesan cheese. And just go ahead and dump it in with the garlic. And then you're going to mix it up. And what you're doing here is you're essentially making the filling. This is the paste that goes on the inside. If you look at this, it'll start to come together like some sort of dough, like you're making bread or pizza dough or something like that. And you just keep stirring this. Make sure you push down a little bit. Make sure that it's not just wet in one spot and dry in another. Try to get it the same consistency throughout. Get a piece of braciole. Now what this typically is, it's top round steak. You can have the butcher cut it. They cut it about 1/4 inch or less thick. 1/4 inch is perfect. And you're going to put the filling inside. But first, what you want to put inside is a piece of prosciutto. And the reason you're doing this is it adds a little extra fat because you're going to slow cook this meat. And it tends to get a little bit dry. And what you want to do is make sure you can do everything you can to make sure it stays moist. And go ahead and put one piece of prosciutto on there. When you buy the prosciutto, look for the fatty prosciutto. It's the fat that keeps it moist, not the meat. And you're not putting a whole lot of it in there. So what you do is you go ahead and put one piece on, and then you take a little bit of the paste that you have, and you spread it all along the inside. You can back the spoon here. You don't need a great deal. Remember, this is just pure garlic and some Parmesan cheese. So there's a whole bulb in here. It should fill at least 8 pieces of braciole. Go ahead and make sure you get a little everywhere. Try not to waste it. And there we go. Like I said, it's nothing fancy. And now you're going to go ahead and roll this up. If you notice, I left a little bit on this edge where there's no filling. That's because that's where I'm going to seal them off. I don't want it to be spilling out into the sauce. So I'm going to turn it this way and start from the end and roll it up like this. I like to start with the small end and roll to the big end. Now you could roll it this way and you'd have a longer, thinner braciole, but you're going to slow cook it for a long time. It'll get very dry to do it that way. You want to roll it so it's shorter and fatter. And you go ahead and roll it all the way up to here. And you notice I'm sticking stuff in that's falling out the side. So go ahead and push stuff in and keep the filling on the inside. That's the whole idea of filling. And there you go. Now, we're going to go ahead and secure it. Now, the traditional Italian way to do this is to tie it with string. But it's a real big mess going ahead, tying it with string, then taking it out, cutting the string, putting the food back. A lot of people use toothpicks, and they stick toothpicks in there to hold it together until it sets. But then you have to take toothpicks out. They tend to get very wet, and they splinter, and you wind up with little pieces of wood. What I do is I take raw spaghetti, and I'll break off a piece of spaghetti and use it just like a toothpick. So I'll stick one piece in here. I'll stick another piece in here. What I'll do is I'll try to contort the ends so that I get the most bang for my buck here by sticking one through and holding the most meat together I possibly can. Get through. Boom. And one on this side. There we go. There's a nice uncooked piece of braciole. What's going to happen with the spaghetti, you're going to slow cook this in tomato sauce. So the spaghetti is going to absorb liquid from the tomato sauce and it's just going to disappear. And you throw these in some oil and brown them. Move them around a little first so they don't stick. Once you have your braciole all brown, nice and brown like this, while it's still on the stove, what you want to do is go ahead and get some crushed tomatoes and just pour a can of crushed tomatoes in there until it covers the meat. This looks like with just that much, it's going to take one can. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some basil over here, and I like to get some nice big leaves, lay them upon each other, and then just roll them up like this. And cut them nice and coarsely. Now, like I said, this meal, everything doesn't have to be real fine. I do prefer, though, to use fresh herbs, all the herbs. I don't like dried basil. That being said, the other herb you're going to put in here is parsley. I don't mind using dried parsley, however, in this particular instance, I have fresh, so I'm going to put that in there. And then I'm going to put that back on the stove and slow cook it for about 2 hours on low. What's going to happen with the braciole is the acid in the tomatoes is going to eat through the fibers in the meat. The salt in the prosciutto and the cheese is going to help draw the juice from the meat out into the tomato sauce. And what I went ahead and did is I made some braciole a little earlier and some spaghetti as well. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is spoon a little of the sauce. And what happens as this slow cooks, the juice from the meat seeps out into the tomato sauce and flavors it. The herbs get assimilated and the garlic seeps out and permeates everything. Meanwhile, the acid in the tomato goes ahead and breaks down the fibers in the meat. So you take your spaghetti and put a few of your bracioles on top of there. They kind of look like sausages. And there you go. Spaghetti with braciole. I'm Scott Thompson. Enjoy.